Hello, officer.
Have you had anything?
Hello.
I'm not talking to you. Who are
I'm
you?
his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic stop,
That's
man.
right.
Cops are often known for their aggressive demeanor and bizarre confrontation tactics. Today we will look at cases where corrupt and clueless officers were completely owned and embarrassed by exceptional attorneys. Kicking things off with this corrupt cop who had no idea an attorney was on the video call. He pulled over a driver and aggressively tried to intimidate him, only to get a reality check.
I'm not talking to you. Who are
I'm
you?
his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic
He
stop,
has the
man.
right to have his attorney present during any questioning by police.
Hey, for just a minute here, you said you've had nothing to drink this evening.
Hello, officer.
Have you had anything?
Hello.
I'm not talking to you. Who are
I'm
you?
his attorney, sir.
Okay, well, he can talk to you after the traffic
He
stop,
has the
man.
right to have his attorney present during any questioning by police.
That's fine, but I'm not going to talk to you right now. All right, so what I'm going to need you to do is perform a couple steps or a couple tests for me, okay?
Field sobriety tests are
Yeah.
voluntary, sir.
Ma'am, I'm not
I'm
talking
talking
to
to
you.
my client.
The Attorney Shield app ensures the officer has nowhere to hide and gets absolutely battered by the all-knowing lawyer. And if this wasn't enough, this next confrontation will leave you stunned.
Do you recall learning that alcohol actually does not have a smell?
I don't recall that.
In 2018, famous DUI defense attorney Larry Foreman was up against a confident police officer who had arrested his client for DUI. Shockingly, the officer had not conducted the complete field sobriety test, and Larry was about to take him to the cleaners.
You've been doing this quite a while, 16 years, is that right?
I feel like that's a substantial amount of time, yes.
I would agree. And you said recertified. You went to Richmond 16 years ago, I presume?
Correct.
And there you were given, was it, you said a 22-week course at the time?
Yes, sir.
I think they've since changed that. I think it's a little bit longer now, but
I think it's went longer and then went shorter, and
yeah.
homeland security issues that we had to go through, and I think
In your training, do you remember being taught to write your reports and make them as complete and as accurate as possible?
that's correct.
In the future, a jury may rely on it, right?
It's basically our field notes, and it's our report for what happened on the scene.
The jury would rely on it, wouldn't they, at some point?
I don't know if the jury relies on it.
The client, Mr. Woods, was initially pulled over for speeding and was made to stand out in the freezing cold without a jacket on.
Mr. Woods passed you, which you later determined was, by pacing him at least,
Correct.
10 miles over the speed limit.
That's correct.
Okay. But you've stated that you've detected the odor of alcohol coming from the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. And did you ask him out of the vehicle immediately right then, or did you go back to the car, radio for backup? What procedure did you follow?
Actually, I don't remember. Normally, if I observe an odor of alcoholic beverages, I'll ask the subject to exit the vehicle at that point. I don't remember that case. I know that you said that I walked back and got back into my vehicle. I don't remember doing that, but
As expected, the officer conveniently couldn't remember anything the defense attorney asked him, but soon the questioning shifted to the crucial field sobriety test.
You stated that eventually you got Mr. Woods to perform the HGN, also known as the horizontal gaze nystagmus test.
that's correct.
And I remember, because I wrote it down, on direct, you've stated, quote, alcohol can cause nystagmus, right?
That's correct.
And there are other causes of nystagmus as well. Do you remember being taught at the academy?
I'm not a medical doctor, and I do remember that, and I think there are some other, CP being one, inhalants being one, and if I'm not mistaken,
Are you aware that heredity or diet can also create nystagmus?
I've never heard that.
What about caffeine?
I know that there had been some research done on caffeine, and I think that was, if I'm not mistaken, I remember them saying that they didn't believe that affected nystagmus.
What about eye muscle fatigue? What about extreme chilling?
I haven't heard that either, sir.
The very basis of the arrest. Apart from the eye test, the officer did not administer any other tests and just went on to arrest the suspect for DUI. Larry had a few more challenging questions for the officer.
Do you remember, I know it's been a long time, as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask this question before I ask my next one. 16 years ago, you completed the 40 hours, which is standard in Richmond to this day to complete for the standardized field sobriety and DUI detection training.
That's correct.
Did you ever recertify at any point? Because you can recomplete A-RIDE, which is the Advanced Roadside Impairment Driving Education.
I have had the advanced DUI course. I don't know when. It's been years ago that I have had the advanced DUI training course. I have completed parts of the 40-hour course again. Maybe the whole course, I'm not sure, on the field sobriety test.
Do you remember when that was? I'm just trying to get a feel.
It's been years.
So in that course, one of the points, and that's why I was asking while I was gauging the timeline here, do you recall learning that alcohol actually does not have a smell?
I don't recall that. I know I can observe an alcoholic beverage. I can't tell you what alcohol beverage it is, but I think most of us have smelled an alcoholic beverage before.
The officer was really questioned by the lawyer, and he made sure to teach him a timely lesson before calling it a day.
Mr. Woods never asked for you to repeat the implied consent?
Not that I recall.
Prior to asking him to submit to the breath test, which he refused. And then you've also stated that it appeared to you that he understood everything.
He didn't ask me. As far as I remember, if he would have asked something, I would have listed it in the report, but obviously he didn't ask anything, so.
Those are all the questions I have, Your Honor.
Eventually, the jury ruled in the favor of the defendant, and he got no jail time or any license suspension, surely showing how great of an attorney Larry is. Now moving on, here is another instance where the attorney shield helped protect a civilian from police misconduct.
So, Mr. Ward, you understand that they don't have a right to search your home without a warrant?
You're not searching anything on this property without a warrant.
In August of 2024, York County police officers pulled over a young couple after a road rage incident. The other party claimed they had been threatened with a gun. As officers stood outside their residence, the girl's father arrived with some crucial advice.
Why aren't y'all recording? No. You get pulled over, pull your cameras out and record them and get name and badge numbers. You know you're blocking traffic, right? You know that bus had to go on the grass to get around you, right? Which is illegal.
Get around it. Sir, you're welcome to banter, record, berate me. It's not going to change what I'm doing out here.
I don't give a fuck what you're doing. You're blocking traffic.
Okay.
I couldn't get around you, and the bus couldn't get around you. Anybody can ride down the street and say they saw a gun. You can be his little bodyguard all you want. Just stay out of my camera.
Who's the
name and badge number?
It's Sergeant Good, number 14.
The father, who was later identified as Bob, was not messing around. He immediately stood up for his daughter's right. Now, making things worse, Sergeant Good insisted that he needed to search the house.
Okay, so you live here. Sir, I'm not your enemy. Okay, I understand you're apprehensive. You got a whole bunch of cops here and everything else. I understand that. I'm not here to bust your chops. I'm not accusing you of anything.
I don't give a fuck what you're doing.
So it is he said, she said at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
But we also have to look at the motivation behind that call. Does that happen every day that just somebody randomly just picks out some random vehicle and says, hey, they did whatever?
Does it happen?
It can happen, but does it happen all the time?
So
No,
go
it
get a
doesn't.
warrant.
Okay, well then that's what we'll do.
You have to get a warrant.
Okay. All right.
You're
very
not
good.
searching anything on this property without a warrant.
What we're gonna do though in the meantime, because there is a firearm involved, alleged to be involved, is that we're gonna do a protective sweep of the residence. We can do that without a warrant. Okay, we're gonna make sure there's nobody in there with a loaded gun waiting to shoot us out the windows. Okay.
There isn't.
Well, I can't take your word for it.
And
I
you
took
can't
your
search
word
that.
for
You're
it.
not searching the house.
Well, Bob wasn't only extremely well versed on the law, but he also had attorney shield with him. He immediately got an attorney on the call, and now the sergeant was up against her.
This is Attorney. How do I see you requested support for a traffic stop today? Is that correct?
Yeah, my daughter was pulled over, and now they want to search the house.
Hey, I'm Sergeant Good with the York County Regional Police Department. Are you his representing attorney?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So what we have is we had a road rage incident where somebody described a pistol with extended magazine was pointed at them from a vehicle that's here in the driveway. The people that are here in the driveway, the police officers got here and saw them go into the house. And we want to try to confirm whether there's somebody in the house with an extended magazine pistol that was waving it at people or not.
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Ward, you understand that they don't have a right to search your home without a warrant, correct?
I told them they cannot enter the house without a warrant.
Well, there's a difference between entering the house and doing a protective sweep to make sure there's not somebody in there pointing a gun at me right now. We wouldn't be searching the house. We'd be first doing a protective sweep, making sure there's no other people in the house that would do us harm. Then after that, we would apply for a search warrant to search the house for evidence.
Out of nowhere, the sergeant claims that they aren't feeling safe and would need to conduct a safety check of the house. But here is when the attorney really takes him to a law class.
But you understand that he doesn't have to give you permission to enter his home unless you have a warrant.
Correct. For searching it, the protective sweep, I believe there's plenty of case law saying that we can make sure there's nobody armed and dangerous in there wanting to hurt us.
You know, it is his private property, so unless you have a search warrant, you don't have a right to enter his home.
Okay, we might agree to disagree on that point for entry, but anyway, we'll apply for a search warrant, and as long as these people all stay out here, maybe we don't need to do a protective sweep, and we'll just apply for the search warrant. So, all right, very good. Thank you.
No worries. You have a great day, sir.
It didn't take long for the attorney to take control of the situation. The sergeant also changed his demeanor and became more fixated on getting a search warrant for the house instead of the unlawful protective sweep.
I'm trying to look for cooperation, look for a specific weapon. If it's not there, great.
Don't touch
But
me again.
if you know, if you want to talk to him, see if there's anything that he wants to do with us, great. If not, we'll just secure the way we're at now. But we're not going to let anybody go back in the residence until we have a search warrant, because very well could be weapons inside, and he's actually admitted there's other weapons inside.
You know, I have to protect my client's constitutional rights.
No, I get it. I totally understand. Yep. If somebody has this weapon and they're willing to escort us to it and get it, great. You know, if
there is no weapon they're talking about in this premises.
If there is no weapon, then I understand that also. But we can't just say, you know, somebody says somebody did the same thing to you.
So anybody can call and say, hey, this guy has a gun.
Things seemed to head in a perfect direction, as now the officers had to wait for a warrant. But then suddenly, Bob encountered another problem, which he discusses with the attorney.
So they're looking for a gun, and there is a bomb in the trunk of the car.
Okay.
I mean, they're going to get a warrant to search for a gun. So anything outside of the gun is nothing, right?
They can take it, right? That's all.
Unfortunately, if they get a warrant to search the car, I believe they can press charges for something else being found in the vehicle.
What if we just let them search it and all they find is a bomb?
It's going to be up to their discretion on whether they
I will
want
reach in that shit and smash it right now. And what can they do about it?
They can charge you. All right, go ahead.
Knowing that his daughter had some marijuana in the car, Bob allowed the officers to search it as a goodwill gesture. He hoped that they would overlook the marijuana and focus solely on the weapon, which was not there.
So you know, like, just because they're going to apply for a warrant doesn't mean that they're going to be successful in getting one.
We're just looking for a large pistol with an extended magazine. So that's it. Okay.
Okay. Look at the car. Really? No gun in it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know why the caller's adamant that she saw.
That's because we were recording them because they had a bat. Like, they were literally waving the bat out the window. Like, pull over.
A bat?
Yeah.
Like a
A
baseball?
baseball bat, yeah.
If I was more certain that somebody could have snuck the gun into the house, we would get a search warrant for the house.
That's the only way you're entering the house.
These guys are saying, what's that?
It's the only way you're going to enter the house.
Right. No, I get that. And I'm not here to, you know, flex on you or anything like that. Okay. But if my guys would have said, yeah, somebody carried a bag inside or something. But under the circumstances at that point, I don't think we are gonna search the house. I don't like to sell your attorney on the phone right now.
The gesture paid off. The officers ended their search and dropped a plan to get a warrant for the house. To top it off, they reviewed a video that Bob's daughter had recorded, clearly showing the other party brandishing the gun.
It's not that, again, whenever we have a call that involves a firearm, we have to just caution. 14.
So it sounds like everything's wrapping up there. Is that correct?
It is. For now, I'll let you go for now. If anything else happens, I'll push the button again.
Okay.
Shortly after, Sergeant Good and his officers left the scene without issuing any ticket or causing any more trouble to Bob and his family, all thanks to the incredible lawyer. And things were not any different in this traffic stop where this cop was owned and humbled.
You choose not to talk to me this time?
Sir, you do not have to answer any questions asked by the police. You have a constitutional right protecting you from self-incrimination.
In May of 2024, a driver was pulled over for speeding and immediately opened attorney shield as the officer approached. This ensured that he didn't have to speak directly to the cop and had legal support on the spot.
You should not know I was going to pull you over.
Hi, I'm attorney Giovanna Delgado.
I got that, but I'm dealing with you. Do you speak English or do you need an interpreter? Okay, so here's the deal. I have you moving at high rate of speed. Do you know what the speed limit is?
Ma'am, you don't need to answer any questions.
But I'm talking to you. Is this your driver's license? Is this not your driver's license? Do you choose not to talk to me at this time?
Sir, you do not have to answer any questions asked by the police. You have a constitutional right protecting you from self-incrimination.
I have you speeding. I have you moving at a high rate of speed. I have you on camera. It's up to you on whatever you want to do. I will suggest next time that when you do see lights, don't cut over right away. Let's give traffic a little bit of time, and then let's move all the way over to the shoulder, shall we? All right, so I have you at 77 and 60, and you'll be receiving a citation for that today. Thank you.
Unsurprisingly, these officers are afraid to speak to a real attorney. They know that their lies would be exposed instantly.
Sorry we didn't get connected quicker.
No, it just happened. He was pretty quick at getting out of his car.
Okay. Because someone else is in the car with you, like, this isn't a protected communication, but I just want you to know that you have rights to not answer questions, which it seems like you do know that because you weren't answering the officer's questions. What did he say he pulled you over for?
Speeding, 77 in a whatever, 60. He didn't even ask for my insurance. He was more distracted with you.
The officer did not say much once he realized he had an attorney present on the scene. Pretty hard for an officer to intimidate a citizen knowing that he had legal representation.
All right, do you speak English? Ma'am, does he speak English?
He does speak English, sir.
All right, do you understand English? That's all I need to know. All right, here's your driver's license back. So why for using me a citation for 77 and 60, I'm back at his phone number, get a phone number call. If you wish to contest, set up a court date, otherwise they'll let you know how to take care of it. I understand that you're not paying attention to me at this time. I'm going to just assume that all the information on here, because you're not talking to me, is correct as far as where you do live. So I'm going to need you to take this from me, and then you do need to get off the video chat while you're driving in the state of Minnesota because you can't be on an electrical device like that, okay? If there's any questions, you do need to take this from me, sir.
You would please, ma'am?
Sir, you should...
It's up to you.
You can take...
You sure get steam when you feel safe to do so. This isn't court right now. I am talking to you as a driver. Again, she's not the one driving. What I need you to do is use the shoulder, get up to speed, move over when you feel it's safe to do so.
It sounds like that was the end of the interaction.
Yeah.
Okay.
The attorney assured that this was a straightforward stop, else we know how things can go with these tyrant cops. Well, this wasn't the only time that an attorney arrived in the courtroom and completely owned a cop.
By your theory, you wouldn't be able to arrest him on the kidnapping charge too.
Well, it's not my theory, it's the code.
In November of 2024, a man named Trevor appeared in Judge David Fleischer's court after being charged with carrying marijuana and a weapon in his car. The judge then laid out the details of the case.
You're Trevor Flores.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Flores, you're charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon. You're facing up to a year in jail and or a $4,000 fine. We're going to do probable cause. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can or will be used against you. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to you, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
Officers initiated a traffic stop after observing the defendant cross several lanes while failing to signal and almost causing a collision. Upon contact, the officers observed an odor of marijuana. The officers asked the defendant to step out of the vehicle and asked whether the defendant had the marijuana inside. The defendant admitted he did have marijuana inside, as well as a firearm. During the search of the vehicle, the officers found a handgun in plain view on the driver's side floorboard, not in holster. And the officers also located 13 grams of marijuana under the passenger seat.
Got it. All right, Mr. Flores, I'm going to find that there's probable cause to go forward with your case.
As Trevor did not have an attorney, the court appointed one for him, and he arrived a few hours later to defend him. Now, you might wonder that he couldn't have done anything in a few hours, but this lawyer came up with an amazingly strong point.
He's charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon following a traffic stop. And I've got a map that is kind of intriguing, I think you'll find, just with the way it's drawn. But he stopped by an officer with the City of Bel Air Police Department. And may I approach to just show you this delineation pulled over going northbound on 610 as he, what is described as, makes an unsafe lane change. So he's northbound on 610, wants to get on 59 to go southbound, is erroneously in the wrong lane going northbound. The officer says that she has observed him makes that unsafe lane change, and that lane change is outside of the City of Bel Air Police Department jurisdiction.
The defense attorney had noticed a crucial flaw in the stop made by the officer earlier, and he made sure to press on to the unlawful nature of the stop.
Now, we have a particular statute that governs whether officers can have the authority to make a detention of someone when they are outside of their jurisdiction, and that's 14.03 of
their PD can still stop someone outside of Bel Air.
Not for, well, according to the code, it says a peace officer.
That would mean that any officer outside would never be able to do anything.
No, that's incorrect. There's a very limited exception, and that's what applies in this case. So it says a peace officer who's licensed and is outside of the officer's jurisdiction may arrest without a warrant a person who commits any offense within the officer's presence or view, other than a violation of Subtitle C, Title 7 of the Transportation Code.
The code clearly states that a police officer cannot make a traffic stop outside of the city's jurisdiction, and just like that, the entire case should be thrown in the bin.
But when it's for a traffic offense, that officer is required.
He's not arresting him for a traffic offense, though.
Well, that was the basis for the stop.
Sure.
But the way the code contemplates arrest, it's any, and that's defined in, I think, in Chapter 15. And so this officer doesn't have the ability, where that stop takes place, to make that detention. That officer could detain him if he saw him committing theft, could detain him if he saw him committing an assault, can't for a transportation code.
But he stops him for whatever reason it is, right? Comes up to the car and he smells.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
and then don't they even get a sniffing dog? Is this the one where they get a drug sniffing dog?
It is refreshing to see a court-appointed lawyer put in the effort, present a solid case, and back it up with thorough research. This attorney definitely deserves a raise, as he's left the judge with plenty of tough questions.
My focus is solely the detention. I'm not.
It's certainly crafty. It's great. But he's not arresting him for the traffic offense.
Well, but I think we're looking at a limited scope of what arrest means. So I think you're looking at arrest as in being arrested.
You would be saying that really if he had committed an ag rob, right, or kidnapping, then even if he had kidnapped, like let's say he had a 2-year-old child in the car that he had kidnapped across state lines. Well, then according to this, because he's in a different jurisdiction, then you couldn't arrest him on that kidnapping charge too.
He saw a kidnapping taking place. The officer could arrest him under that code. But what he can't do is when there's a traffic code violation, we don't allow for example, the El Paso Police Department to come to Houston and then sit on the street corner and arrest people for traffic violations. We don't allow them to make those stops. And that's what's at issue here.
Judge Fleischer acknowledged the attorney's impressive effort, and his argument significantly delayed, if not completely eliminated, the possibility of a sentence for his client.
He's a peace officer who's outside of his jurisdiction, able to enforce the traffic code.
I know where you're going, and I've seen it before, but I'm not.
And we're looking at G1. So what it says in there is 5600, 610 northbound. And what's so curious about this is...
That's still in Bel Air? Is it outside of Bel Air?
That would be outside of Bel Air too.
I can't make that determination now.
Fair enough.
Number two,
yes,
he's not arresting him on a traffic offense.
Well, and I think what the code contemplates when it says arrest, and I think there's case law on this, is that it includes the concept of detention as that's been... Because I think when that code was written...
And so what I'm saying would apply as well, though. Like if he catches a 2-year-old kid, right, that's been kidnapped, by your theory, he wouldn't be able to arrest him on a kidnapping charge too.
Well, it's not my theory, it's the code. If
he has a dead body in the car, he wouldn't be able to do it.
Well, that's a legislature question. And I mean, but they wrote that...
I can't imagine that the legislature intended that. I think that they intended for a traffic, let's say for speeding.
The judge tried to dismiss it as just the attorney's theory, but the lawyer quickly set the record straight, delivering a brilliant response that ultimately owned the judge.
Your tail light is out. Yeah, not to arrest in that respect. But he goes up to the car, smells marijuana, sees a gun in plain view. I can't imagine the legislature intended in that purpose.
And my position, of course, is that, this may be for a motion to suppress later down the line, and I think there's still plenty more to do in the case.
It's a freaking awesome argument.
But the idea
I love
is...
Mr. Wonderful.
No right to detain him.
Right? Really?
Well, once again, the judge was more than impressed by the attorney and claimed that he would look into the argument. Now that brings us to the end of this video. Today we saw cases where corrupt cops were humiliated by knowledgeable attorneys. Lawyers are one of the few people these officers truly fear because they know their ignorance of the law will be exposed for everyone to see. And that is exactly what happened today. If you agree with me, please support us by liking this video. And if you enjoyed this video, watch how these cops made the worst discoveries of their lives.
Put your hands up here. You're not going to jail. You understand that?